Welcome to the Business Collective podcast with Terry Fletcher. Weekly conversations and insights on how to go from employee to consultant in any business field where your years of expertise can be showcased. Take your career to the next level, entrepreneurship. Now here's your host, nationally recognized healthcare consultant, speaker, and author, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Business Collective podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher. So this week, I wanted to talk about credit. And I know sometimes talking finances is a touchy subject, but as an entrepreneur, you're going to have that conversation. Not having that conversation doesn't mean it doesn't exist, doesn't mean you can push it aside. Like they say, money talks. It is always a part of a conversation for someone who's trying to start a business or trying to work within their business. And so you have to figure out the entrepreneurial cash flow, if you will, and really what is important if you're going to use credit when you are building your business. And I'm just going to give you some tips that have worked for me, some things that may not work for you, some things that you have to probably consider before applying it, and also what you can pass along to your kids. I know my daughter, who is 27, she is a spender. Oh my goodness. And I've had to really keep her in check. And I said, look, if you want help with this, instead of just being on your own and drowning, then you're going to have to give me access to your accounts just so I can see what you're doing. I'm not going to micromanage to a point, but I am going to remind you when you need to balance, when you are too close, when you go under a certain point, because credit is huge. And you can have no money and have credit and still be able to run your business. You can have no credit and have money, and you're going to have some people or some contractors that are not going to want to do business with you. So you really have to look at the credit aspect and how credit can work for your business. And really, what does your emergency fund look like? So as an entrepreneur, we have to have these conversations. And managing a business without funds really hobbles your competitive advantage, and it does it significantly. It can leave you at the mercy of every crisis you're dealing with. I know when I started my company, it was a bad recession. And very similar to now, just really concerned about, where the next dollar is going to come from. And I had a baby at the time. So I said she was 27. I started my business when she was under 2. And money was also hard to come by because there was always, diapers to buy, baby food to buy, whatever, something that had to do with the family and your kid. So the company grew as the economy got better. But I was not able to make the strides that I see some people doing by overextending themselves, because I wanted to wait till I had access to real capital and not just in the form of debt. So while you may miss opportunities that require financial investment, your rivals race ahead, growing their own slice of the market share could put them in a major debt situation. So let's talk about that. So you can't just keep a healthy expense account. Sometimes that's not enough to retain an edge. Your company's credit profile is one of your greatest assets. It lets you access better leasing terms for equipment, lets you access loans while ensuring that resources are at arm's length, and that if you have a crisis, that can't be weathered without money, but debt can create its own catastrophe. So the goal of credit should not be to create static debt, but to manage it responsibly enough to build a really, really positive and what we like to call squeaky-clean profile. So to achieve that, first thing you have to do is if you have any debt, you need to make sure those payments are made on time, 30 days ahead of their due date, and make sure you make the at least minimum payment. You have to, because a comprehensive credit profile will give clients and investors core information when researching your company's reputation. The other thing, and this has been a rule that I have lived by since I've had a credit card, and this is that I do not put food on credit cards. Some people do, I do not. If I do not have the cash flow for it, then I don't eat it. So I tell my daughter that you may not go out to a restaurant, a sports bar, groceries. No, those go on your debit card. So that's when you have to budget for your, basically eating, gas, things like that. Your credit card is typically for emergencies, but also for rolling, basically your utilities, your rent, your leasing payments, things like that within your business. So we're talking about business expenses right now. But if you can stay away from putting things that you basically eat away and you don't have anything to show for it off your credit card, you'd be surprised how much money you spend. I see so many people handing a credit card over for a Starbucks drink. And so your $6 cup of coffee, yes, that's what it is now, could have gone into a jar with $6, and you could have now built that up if you didn't have it for, let's say, 3 days a week only. Now you've got your $18 a week, times that by 4 weeks, times that by your 52 weeks, and now you've got kind of a nice little nest egg there on what you could have spent on maybe marketing. You'd have $936, at least almost $1,000. And it's amazing when you look at it in the big picture and you think, oh my gosh, is that how much I'm actually spending on coffee? So when there's little things like that that you figure out, and then just think how much, fast food is now, going out to a restaurant is, which now they're up service charging you because of having to pay, their staff higher because of minimum wage changes. And now there's COVID and health insurance costs. I'm like, what are you doing to us? So you really want to be able to manage your credit responsibly for your business, because as every business has, we all have ups and downs. And there is going to come a time when you're going to have a lot of room on that card for either an emergent situation or an important situation or something that is going to happen where you're going to need that space. And so keep that in mind. So working for a better score. So entrepreneurs often use credit cards to get beyond startup status. And as long as you're disciplined, this is okay. Your business is a separate entity, and it needs to be nurtured as such. So personal credit lines, I know they're tempting to use, but building your business score requires credit in your business name. And this is how you can improve your credit profile. Ask your suppliers. I know this is going to sound funny because everybody's like, no, I don't want it to go to a major credit bureau, but ask them to report your credit history to major credit bureaus, the Better Business Bureau, and to Norton. I get all of that. Check your profile for accuracy regularly. Sometimes stuff goes unseen, so for example, even some small bills that do not belong to you could actually be part of that. By taking time each month to monitor your business credit, that can save you a lot of time and money by catching something early. So try to improve weak areas of your profile. So taking advantage of some growth opportunities, that also is reflective in your score. And anytime you can sign up for alerts so that fraudulent activity is caught immediately, that's only going to help you. Just always remember that missed opportunities can be catastrophic in a cutthroat marketplace, especially if you have items that you're selling and not just a service-based business, even though service-based is becoming more and more cutthroat. But the inability to promote yourself during your most profitable season could cost you thousands. For example, my most profitable season is typically October through December and then January and February, because I'm a service-based business as a consultant. So my information is really about the new information coming the next year and always keeping on top of what is new out there. So during the summer, it tends to slow down a bit, not this past summer, but sometimes it does. And so this is where you have to really make sure that you've got emergency funds and you can handle it with credit if you need to. So just make sure you are keeping that line of credit open. Also, the loyalty programs, those can be very helpful and they can reduce your expenses dramatically. As with cash, there are smart and wasteful ways to spend them. So points are often also transferable to alternative loyalty programs, which can help you allocate your points in a certain way that suits your needs. Right now, typical credit card interest rates are ridiculous. They're between 9 and 20%. If you're working on the basis of return on investment rather than expenses, credit cards speed the access to funds, and frequently raise your profits higher than you would otherwise manage. But those interest rates mean that you're going to have to pay that back for under short-term debt within that month. Otherwise, it's really going to cost you. So you have to be very heads up about that. Also, make sure that you are calling some of those credit card companies to negotiate your rate. If you've been with them at least a year, and let's say you have a 11% rate, and you have paid on time, you paid chunks down, or you pay it off at least once a month, all of it a month, at least a couple times during that year, you can call and say, can I get a lower rate based on my loyalty and my good track record of my good credit with your company. So I've seen my brother do that. I've seen other entrepreneurs do that. I pay off my credit cards every month. I'm lucky enough to have that kind of cash flow. But I have seen people who have kept a balance, and a long time ago when I did have a balance on a couple of cards that I was paying down once the business really took off, I asked for that lower rate and I got it every single time. Citibank and American Express, they all, were like, yeah, actually we're going to take it from, this amount to this amount. And when you can get a card company, I had one that went down from 11% to 8%, that you can't even know what a difference that makes, not only in your minimum payment, but in your overall access to credit. And then reducing tax costs. Remember, at the end of the year, you can actually negotiate next year's marketing budget. So find out how much you need to spend from your CPA or the person that handles your taxes, and that could significantly reduce your tax liability for the current year. See who you can prepay for the year for 20% or more special pricing and pay by December 31st. I know I have clients that do that. Some of them I don't let them do that because then I get taxed on that, but work it in reverse. See if you can do that. That can help reduce your cost and cut your marketing costs. So if you have to pay 6% on a loan, you're still ahead by 14% and have far fewer taxes to pay. So it could be a win-win. But overall, your credit cards can change a business for the better or for the worse, depending on how you play it. So having access to credit and loans is important to grow a sustainable speed business. But remember, here's the ticket. Always get loans lined up, line of credit, access to credit before you need them, not when you need them. So you want them when you don't need them, not when you do. Otherwise, it may not be available, because a lot of times when you need it, so does everybody else. All right, that's it for me today. Thank you for listening to the Business Collective podcast. Until next time, I'm Terry Fletcher. Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Business Collective podcast. Drop us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website and blog at www.business-collective.com.